to conclude on that introduction to concentration inequalities, let me talk briefly about one canonical and super fundamental application of Chebyshev's inequality, which is the weak law of large number. It says that if you give me n IID random variables xi, so they're all distributed according to the same px, assume they have finite mean mu and finite variance sigma square, then the probability that the average random variable 1 over n sum from I equal 1 to n of the xi minus the mu, the mean in absolute value, is greater than some epsilon, where epsilon here, I should have indicated here that for epsilon positive, any epsilon that you like, that probability is bounded by sigma square over n epsilon square. So this is the definition of convergence in probability. As n goes to infinity, you see that that upper bound goes to 0. And therefore, what the weak law of large number is telling you is it's telling you that as n gets large, the probability that your average of the random variables here differs from the mean mu by more than epsilon is going to 0. A direct application of that law of large number is what we used in the previous lecture when we talked about flipping a coin. The more coin flips you have, the better this sample average here is at estimating the true bias p, which here is our mean mu. So how do we prove the weak law of large number? Well, the good news is we've done all the hard work. It is actually just an application of Chebyshev's inequality. So let's do that together. The reason I'm going through this, by the way, I understand that some of you might be already familiar with that, is it's a good way to refresh our minds about probability. We'll be doing slightly more advanced stuff than that during the rest of the semester, but I always find that a very pedagogical exercise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to define a random variable z that is that sample average that we are after. Okay? So we're going to define z as 1 over n, the sum from I equal 1 to n of the xi's. Okay, so the xi's, if you remember, are ID by assumption. They have a finite mean, they have a finite sigma square, and we're trying to understand what's going on. Let's ask two questions. What is the mean of z? What is the variance of z? So it turns out that computing the mean of z is quite direct because of linearity of expectation. You can get the 1 over n sum from I equal 1 to n out, and you get the expected value of xi. Well, by definition, the expected value of xi is what I call mu. And you're just taking a sample average here of the same quantity, so this is mu. So to compute the variance, we have to be slightly more subtle here. So the variance here is the variance of a sum average of ID random variables. Two things you should try to remember. So I got a question by Xiaoshu. Just hold on to that thought. I'll come back to that in a second. The variance of z is the variance of 1 over n sum from I equal 1 to n of the xi's. Now 1 over n is a constant. If you want to get a constant out of a variance, you have to multiply by 1 over n squared. You have to square it. Now, if you take the 1 over n out, you get the variance of a sum from I equal 1 to n of ID random variables. It's actually the sum of the variances. It's a result that's known. I'll leave it to you to prove it again for yourself. Ask the question of Piazza if you need my input on this. So it's going to be the sum from I equal 1 to n of the variance of x, I. But the variance of xi is by definition the same constant sigma squared because I'm assuming that my random variables are I. And therefore, as a result, you see that what you get is you get n times sigma squared divided by n squared. That's sigma squared divided by n. So that's the variance of that random variable z that we're after. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to apply Chebyshev's inequality to that random variable. We have a mean, we have a variance, so we can definitely apply it. So we apply Chebyshev's inequality to obtain the following. The probability that z greater than or equal to t has to be less than or equal to the variance sigma squared divided by n divided by t squared. So sigma n divided by n t squared. Okay, so if you substitute back what, sorry, I should be a bit careful. I'm misapplying Chebyshev's inequality. Chebyshev's inequality says what is the probability that the absolute value of z minus mu, the mean, greater than or equal to t, that's superbounded by sigma squared over nt squared. So if you put everything together, that's exactly the statement that we are after. It's telling us that the probability in absolute value that 1 over n, sum from I equal 1 to n of the xi minus mu greater than some epsilon is going to be less than or equal to sigma squared over n epsilon squared. And as n goes to infinity, that goes to 0. That is the weak law of large number. Okay, so again, the weak law of large number is an application of Chebyshev's inequality, and pictorially what it tells us is the following. If you plot on an axis here the PDF of the random variable z. Okay, so z, you have to be careful, is a function of n, the way I define it. So what you would expect is this. For a small value of n, you could have a distribution like this. So if you fix epsilon here and minus epsilon there, you see that the probability that, and here I'm assuming here that mu is equal to 0. So you see that the probability of being away from the mean by plus or minus epsilon is that area here underneath, my curve between these two variables. But as n goes to infinity, what the weak law of large number is showing is that there is a concentration happening where the PDF becomes more and more spiky, if you wish, and tends to behave like this. And you see that in that case, if you look at the area under the curve here, it gets smaller. So this is telling you that this probability distribution tends to concentrate around the mean much, much more as n goes to infinity, and therefore the random variable z converges in probability to its mean. That's the weak law of large number. So now that we have these basic concentration inequalities, we're actually in pretty good shape, and we can start going back to our learning problem.